Three, two, one, action. Welcome everybody to the first ever J&J at the movies. Now, if you thought I was a planner and I made this happen, I am not. This is just sheer dumb luck. My very first podcast was on Martin Luther King Day when I was trying to do like this whole feel. I got this whole chill down my spine because I'm building up this dream. And I do a movie podcast, and we've got a little something to talk about. We've got the Oscars coming up. I'm joined by Justin Permenter and Jonathan Tremino.
Hey.
Yeah, I'll let these guys introduce themselves like gentlemen.
So I'll go first.
What do you guys? Age before
first.
beauty. Age before beauty. I think Permenter. I think you got to take that one down
Go for it.
All right. Well, my name is Justin Permenter. I live up in Corinth, which is near the Denton area, for all of you unfamiliar with Texas geography. And yeah, I've been a pretty big movie fan for pretty much since college. I am married, but I don't have any kids, and so that does still allow me a bit of time to catch quite a few movies right now. So what originally got me into movies, I actually did work at a film store, kind of a Tarantino-esque background. And while I was there, I discovered, hey, there's really nothing stopping me from, renting all the classics and really just getting an idea of what these, IMDb top 250, AFI top 100, all these highly regarded movies that I'd always heard about but had never actually seen. So yeah, just started going down the list and really fell in love with the idea of just cinema in general. And so for a while there, for about 2 years, it was two or three movies a night. Just really dove in the deep end there. And I still try to catch the Oscars every year, try to make sure that I see all the Best Picture nominees, try and get into the actors and actresses as well if I can. As far as my favorite genre, the directors that I prefer and just the genres that I love, big fan of Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, all of those are fantastic. I would say my favorite director of all time is probably Ingmar Bergman, and my number one film being The Seventh Seal. So lots of foreign film, lots of classic film, but really there's great stuff in just about every decade.
Right on. Jonathan, that's going to be a tough act to follow.
Oh, yeah.
But no, go ahead, Jonathan. I know your sister told me, that you were doing some movie critiquing online, and I was like, I got to get him on to do a podcast. So I'm glad that you're able to join us. And just espouse your intro, sir.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. My name is Jonathan Tremino. I live in Houston, Texas, or close to it. I've been watching movies since like 2015 is when I really started doing it. And what really got me into it was like the Marvel movies, because I've always had a fascination with like comic books and like, superheroes and all that stuff. And I really like what Marvel was doing, trying to build that universe. The first one I've seen in theaters was Avengers Age of Ultron. And then since then, 2015, I kept going to movie theaters and just watching a movie every now and then. Entourage and Ted 2, that was in 2015. Star Wars eventually, Spotlight was the Revenant as well. And I kind of just kept on with it throughout the years and started learning more about directors and more technical aspects of it and actors and actresses, and started getting into the Academy Awards. It's a yearly thing that I do now, watch it every year. Started reviewing my movies since last year. It's on Letterboxd. It's an app that I use. And yeah, now I'm kind of glad to be here. And my favorite genre, I really like comedies, because something I could just rewatch all the time, like having something in the background. Like Superbad, I really liked, and This Is the End, I really liked, and 40-Year-Old Virgin. A comedy this year was one of my favorite ones is Booksmart. I don't really necessarily have a favorite.
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Booksmart was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily have a favorite director. Like the big names I really like, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino. But yeah, that's me.
Right on, guys, and we'll just jump right into it. Get started with the heavy hitters on the Oscar nominations. This probably, in terms of years, for me, was probably one of my worst in terms of seeing all these movies. I'll be honest. So I'm glad I got a couple experts in here with me. Now we're going to start in international feature film. This seems like it's going to be a one dog show here, but anything else jumping out besides Parasite?
Well, I think, I mean, Pedro Almodovar kind of has a legendary reputation. I know Antonio Banderas was nominated for his performance in Pain and Glory. But really, kind of like you said, I think this one's, you could pretty much give it to Parasite right now. I feel like that's the film that's gotten tons and tons of buzz. It seems by far the most likely to walk away with this category.
Yeah, I agree. I think Parasite would take it easily.
I just was surprised now that I'm looking at the list a little more detailed that they made another Les Mis. I guess they can always go with Jean Valjean. He's always going to be a hit, you know?
Yeah, I don't know that I was looking at that film. I have not seen it, but I don't think it's actually the Victor Hugo story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
it's so different too, I think.
It looks like it's me. I have bad eyes. I need to go to the eye doctor, but
well, I mean, it definitely has the title, you know, Les Mis. It definitely suggests the story we're all
that's what they were going for.
I was, kind of reading the description. I don't think it's the same story.
Right on.
But I have not seen it, so I could not confirm that.
There you go. Skipping up a little bit here to cinematography. Nominations are all pretty, you know, they're all pretty much heavy hitters. I've got, I mean, it's got to be 1917, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, Roger Deakins.
You know, we were, go ahead.
Yeah, Roger Deakins, he won for Blade Runner. It was a beautiful looking movie as well.
Yeah, and Deakins is, in my opinion, the absolute best in the business. So really, I feel like 1917 is the most likely to win here. I was pretty fond of The Lighthouse, which I'm not familiar with Yaron Blaschke. I don't know, you know, their work all that well, but Roger Deakins, like I said, he's been doing it for decades. You know, everything from Shawshank to, like Jonathan said, Blade Runner 2049, brilliant film, beautiful cinematography. Even more action and, you know, kind of blockbuster friendly movies like Skyfall, just gorgeously shot. So I would think 1917 is pretty much a lock in this category. I don't really recall anything in The Irishman standing out that much. Tarantino's films are always well shot and always well put together, and there were some really cool shots in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but to me, just pretty much from starting to closing reel of 1917 was fabulous. So I think that's my vote.
Yeah, it was nice. They got us with they got me with the okie doke. I was expecting the guy to make the run and the other guy to die and switch Rooney on us. I thought that was nice. I mean, we're talking about the movie, so hopefully
sure.
I'm allowed to talk about the movies if we're going to talk about the movies. Now, original screenplay. Looking at the nominees there, I mean, nothing more original than Parasite again. It just keeps coming up.
Yeah, the one that really seemed a little out of place to me in this case actually is 1917. There were a lot of things I absolutely loved about that movie. I don't really know that the screenplay was the highlight compared to something like Knives Out or Marriage Story, where the script is really the strength of the movie. Personally, I really was impressed with Marriage Story. Just the dialogue, it was earnest and heartfelt, but not cloying and not, you know, it didn't stoop to easy, repetitive tropes that a lot of dramas and melodramas can fall into. So I thought it did a great job of keeping these characters both very sympathetic. I mean, you could see Scarlett Johansson's side, you could see Adam Driver's side, and it was just tragic that they couldn't get on the same page and make this work anymore. But really the one that again, I keep going back to is probably Parasite. You know, that one just seems to be getting tons of buzz for just being so original and topical and just really, really having a major impact on audiences.
Yeah, I got roped into Parasite actually because of Jonathan. You were raving about it so much. We watched it here. Yeah, it was disturbing to see it. That's the word I would use to describe it is disturbing.
Yeah, one that I'm rooting for. I like Knives Out. I don't necessarily think it would win, but that's one I'm rooting for. I just like the whole murder mystery.
Yeah, I was actually mad that Dominic went and saw that with you. I was like, come on, I wanted to see that.
Yeah, there was, even some talk of Knives Out maybe sneaking a Best Picture nom. I know I kind of came away from it. I definitely enjoyed the film, and the cast is just, wonderful. I kind of would have liked to have seen this as like maybe a 3-part miniseries or something. I wanted to dive a little deeper into, Michael Shannon's character and Jamie Lee Curtis's character and all the various people. They all got at least a scene or two to shine, but I felt like there was more there. Overall, I didn't come away thinking it was as good as maybe some of the rest of the internet did. But there was a little bit of kind of like a counter backlash because with Rian Johnson, just taking it in the shorts for the Last Jedi, and in my opinion, deservedly so. This was kind of a forgiveness or a realizing, hey, this guy does still have some pretty strong cinematic chops. So I think people kind of went overboard on lavishing praise for Knives Out, but it was definitely a good film, very clever screenplay. So I'm pretty happy to see it nominated for something.
I have a beef with the people of the Star Wars universe. How about you just appreciate that you're getting Star Wars content and stop trying to rip it so much? I watched the movie. It's not that bad. It's not. It's a Star Wars movie. It's a Star Wars movie. So
Sure.
I'm happy. Obviously, with what they're doing on Disney Plus, they're going to have Star Wars content till we are long gone. They're going to have Star Wars content forever, basically, now that they've gotten to the streaming. So I'm excited about that. I don't actually have the Disney Plus, but I caught one episode of The Mandalorian, and I was pretty hooked. So it's inevitable that I get it, but I've just been kind of putting it off.
Well, that could be a topic definitely for a future podcast because we could talk for weeks about the Star Wars series for sure.
Well, talking Star Wars.
they've got 9 movies. I mean, if you hit what is it? You a baseball fan? Go to the Hall of Fame if you hit 3 out of 10. Sometimes.
Oh, sure.
So
sure. Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking all 9 of them now that they're all out, the first 2 are obviously no-brainers. They're no-brainers. They're slam dunks. You're not going anywhere without the first 2. So now they only have to get 1 out of 7 right to be Hall of Fame level. I'm pretty sure they hit more than 1 out of 7 right.
Well, I think one of the things, and not to dive again because we'll use up all our time here on Star Wars, but I think the transition from J.J. Abrams and kind of the plot lines he had set up and the characters he had established and sort of where he was starting to take this new trilogy. Then he hands it off to Rian Johnson, who for whatever reason did not seem to agree with those or wanted to go in a different direction and kind of subvert expectations a little bit. And then they went back to J.J. Abrams and said, nope, I'm going to pull this back over in this direction. It was just kind of all over the place. So
yeah,
I was, though, happy to see Rian Johnson stepping away from like the biggest franchise in the world, with apologies to Marvel, by far the biggest property there is, and getting back into this murder mystery films. We don't see a whole lot of like old school detective, Inspector Poirot kind of murder mystery films. So that was just interesting in concept, I thought. And again, the cast was awesome. Daniel Craig, I wasn't in love with the accent choices he made, but he brought his A game, and yeah, the whole thing was definitely a fun movie for sure.
Right on. So taking it back to the awards here, adapted screenplay. I mean, this one for me was the best movie that I saw. Jojo Rabbit. I felt a little awkward at times laughing, but it was comical, and that for me is the big winner. I guess I could probably see Joker sneaking in there and grabbing it, maybe. But for me, I'm going Jojo Rabbit.
The only one I've seen here is the Joker, and I feel like that one wasn't really much of a Joker movie. Besides like Bruce Wayne being in there, or little Bruce Wayne being in there, it could have been something.
It'll be really
call it something else.
It'd be really interesting to see how the Academy responds to Joker, because I mean, it has tons of nominations. Obviously, they received it positively. To me, the big strike against it, I mean, Joaquin is phenomenal. We'll
Right.
get to him in just a moment. But and I was impressed with what Todd Phillips did as well, kind of being known as more of a comedy director and so on. But there were so many just overt nods to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy.
King of Comedy.
And it was deliberate, I mean, they deliberately cast Robert De Niro, to kind of point directly to those films. And so I have a little bit of a hard time saying that, yeah, this was just the most, original and creative screenplay, because it does draw pretty heavily from those two other films. And these aren't, some obscure Swedish foreign film that, maybe 10 people have seen. These were Marty Scorsese movies. These were, iconic films that are really stuck in the consciousness of the viewing audience. And so I think other people, I mean, clearly the critics and other audiences too, really picked up on that. So it's hard for me to hand the award to that one. Jojo Rabbit to me takes the most risks. I mean, just in concept alone of like, yeah, we're going to make a film about a little Nazi boy whose imaginary friend is Hitler, and to successfully keep that from spiraling out of control into absolute disaster territory, that's pretty impressive. I'll be honest, I have not seen Little Women yet, so I can't really comment there. I've heard they kind of make some, they kind of go in a little different direction than maybe the original source material did. So that takes some guts with such a, beloved work of fiction. I really actually enjoyed The Two Popes. That was, something that could have been very slow and very dull, and ultimately is anchored by two great thespians, two great actors, just going head to head. But the script was pretty snappy, pretty sharp, and that worked for me. But I do still think Jojo Rabbit is probably your favorite here.
Now, after we have a nice little Hitler transition, right into the animated movies, we've got the animated features here. Only one I got a chance to see was Toy Story 4, and it was a Toy Story movie. So, I can't really see them going that direction again. I mean, really just kind of going formulaic with the Toy Stories. There's not like a lot of originality popping out, but I'm always going to go see Woody if he's up on the big screen. So.
Yeah, with Toy Story 4, I think what really holds it up is like the animation. So, beautiful it is. I've seen How to Train Your Dragon. It's pretty forgettable for me. Never been a big fan of the How to Train Your Dragon series or the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting year. I mean, usually there's 3 or 4 animated features that, pretty much everybody saw. There's always like a couple that, may have been foreign films or something that not everybody got to. But I'll be honest, I have not even heard of Klaus or I Lost My Body.
I Lost My Body, I want to say, is a French film, I think.
Yeah, so, maybe one of those could sneak in and get it, but I think it'd be hard to pick against Toy Story 4, just from what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
I don't feel that Toy Story 4 was all that necessary. I really thought the third one kind of
the third one was a nice send-off, I thought, too. You're absolutely right, yeah. I'm with you on that, but when you can just print money.
Huge movies. Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly.
When you can just roll out the old snake in my boot and take down 100 million without even blinking, and yeah, you're going to keep rolling them out. And I actually kind of thought it was kind of cool. I obviously don't have kids, but maybe you're taking your son to see a Toy Story movie for the first time, and you've been seeing, I think that aspect of things, generational movies like Toy Story, it's kind of cool. Director is a Murderer's Row here. I'm not sure where they're going to go with it. Parasite pops up again, so as much as I thought it was disturbing, it's hard to really. You gotta really have something going if you're pulling off a Parasite. It's a lot.
Bong Joon-ho is just so out in left field. Like I don't know. I'm sure you guys probably have seen Snowpiercer. Like he's willing to just go to places that I've never seen anyone else go, and I love it. So I'm kind of rooting for him. I think Jonathan, you and I both, and Austin, you probably too, we're all big Tarantino fans, so I'm always cool with Tarantino or Marty winning. Really, to me, my personal pick, Sam Mendes did a tremendous job on 1917, like keeping that film coherent, dealing with, you know, all of the chaos just going around. That to me took a real steady hand at the tiller. So that to me would be my pick, but I just don't know if that's going to be where the Academy chooses to go.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, pretty much a toss-up, I'd say. Really wouldn't be mad about any of them winning. I don't think. Now, getting into the more acting awards here, we got supporting actress. I'm hard pressed to ever say a bad word against Scarlett Johansson, so I'll just leave it at that.
I really liked Laura Dern in Marriage Story. Just kind of as a badass lawyer. Thought she played it pretty well, and also I'm a big fan of Margot Robbie in Bombshell. Kind of a personal pick for me, but I think Laura Dern is going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree, Jonathan. For me, I always like to see an actor, you know, step outside their comfort zone, and Laura Dern is always so, you know, likable, and just somebody that, you know, you could see being your mom or your cool teacher or something like that. And in this film, she's you know, she's a divorce lawyer, so some of it just comes from that role, but she's really kind of forcing Scarlett to go into places or go in a direction that she's not entirely comfortable with, and she has this weird like frenemy relationship with Ray Liotta, and yeah, it's just a really great performance. I think she probably will win it. Kathy Bates was excellent in Richard Jewell, which was a film I personally was not very inclined to like, but it kind of won me over actually for the most part. There was definitely some problematic depictions of, you know, a certain character, which that's been well documented. Kathy Bates, though, is her awesome self. And ScarJo's in kind of an interesting position where she's up for Best Supporting and Best Actor, which again we'll get to here in a second. But I think Laura Dern, it's probably her award to win.
Right on. And then the male supporting actor, I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking this guy, maybe it's his turn to just take it down. Joe Pesci, I mean, of all the people in The Irishman, I think I was actually most entertained by him, seeing him do his thing again. Remembering he was in Home Alone and being like, oh, this guy's cool.
Can't believe he didn't get nominated for that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But no, that's who I guess I'm leaning towards on that side of things. I mean, if they give the award to Tom Hanks, who's going to complain?
Right. Yeah, it was interesting to see Pesci in a Scorsese film, but in this one, he's actually playing like the level-headed, wise, doesn't say everything on his mind. Where you compare that to like his Goodfellas and Casino characters that are just, hotheads and really get themselves into more trouble than they need to, and usually cost them in the end. It was just great to see him play a completely different character in yet a familiar mafioso type role. You do kind of wonder if Pacino, Pesci will kind of split the votes. You do see that sometimes when you got multiple people from the same movie, and that's how Tom Hanks, might potentially walk away with it. I would be pretty shocked if Hanks or Pesci didn't win. But you never. I mean, Brad Pitt was good. Hopkins was very good in The Two Popes. I just don't know if they had quite the same impact as those first two performances we talked about.
Yeah, and then for me, getting into the top actress award, I can't see them going anywhere but Charlize Theron on this one. I'd be shocked if she didn't take it down, honestly.
I'm thinking Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah,
I really liked her. I thought they had a lot of long takes with her, just like dialogue with no cuts.
yeah,
That she was fantastic in it. But Renee Zellweger, she's been winning a lot of the awards already for Judy.
Yeah, Renee Zellweger, you've kind of got the comeback story, just her personally, how she's kind of stepped away from acting and people haven't seen her in a while, and then she comes back and plays this, icon of film, but also a very, troubled person who's struggled in her own life and so on. So yeah, there's a lot of possibility that Zellweger could win it. I'm kind of with you, Jonathan. I was very pro Scarlett in Marriage Story. That was such a difficult role. I think it says a lot about, just a lot of things going on with our current society and expectations of it's hard to play a sympathetic mother who is leading for divorce. And in that film, ScarJo's character is really the one kind of pushing for the divorce. Adam Driver doesn't want that, and he's kind of wanting to stay together. And so it's hard to make that character feel sympathetic, but she does a great job. And kind of like Jonathan said, there's just these long scenes of really introspective dialogue. And then at the same time, there might be a scene a few minutes later where she's standing in the hallway watching Adam Driver play with her son and just watching the emotions play across her face. She loves her son. She loves how good he is with her son. And yet, obviously she's not in love with him anymore, and this relationship has fallen apart, and she wants more for her own life. So it was a really powerful performance, kind of brought me to the verge of tears several times. So I would personally lean towards Scarlett Johansson.
I said it earlier, I wouldn't say a bad word against her, so I'm not going to do it now for sure. If they give it to Scarlett Johansson, that would be, I liked the Marriage Story. It was a fine movie. I didn't get quite as teary-eyed as you did over there, guy, but
well, I'm a big wuss.
But well, yeah, there's that for sure, of course. But yeah, no, the actor, the actor award. I didn't see it. I didn't see the Joker, but the preview was enough for me to be like, that guy's doing something crazy. So I would say Joker probably.
Yeah, I'd hate to spend so little time. These are all excellent performances. I really would not be upset with any one of these guys walking away with it, but it just seems like this is Joaquin's year. He's just phenomenal in that movie, and it's so hard to follow. You've already got Heath Ledger, you've already got Jack Nicholson, and
Jared Leto,
and some others. Just these iconic performances, and how do you top that? Well, somehow he found a way to find his own version of the character that's just as iconic. So yeah, it's pretty much, I think, in the bag for him. I hope so. He's deserved it. He's been nominated multiple times but never won. So yeah, I feel like that's probably going to Joaquin Phoenix.
I'm kind of disappointed that Adam Sandler didn't get a nomination for.
Yeah, that one. That is a good one.
I feel like he would have taken it. I would have went for Adam Sandler over Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I didn't see either of those, but I heard that was a good movie with Adam Sandler. And obviously, anytime the goofball comedian goes serious, it's a risk. But he's tried it before and failed, so he has some experience too of trying to pull something off like that. So I'll definitely check it out when it comes on the streaming. The grand finale, we've got the Best Picture award. I said it, maybe I didn't say it, but Jojo Rabbit for me was the best movie that I saw. It was just so well done. Like you said earlier, the concept of having a little boy's best friend be Hitler and pulling it off is just incredible. But there's that stupid parasite is again, just right there, always lingering.
Like a parasite.
Exactly. No, you can't. You really can't.
Or something.
No, that's not going to do it. I was surprised to see again Ford and Ferrari there, because we didn't mention that this whole time. So it's kind of weird to see it pop up as the Best Picture. It's kind of like, what are they doing with that? I don't really get it. The war movie, 1917. I liked that movie, but I didn't love it. I wasn't as impressed with it personally. I'd say for me it's Jojo Rabbit, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think 1917 would take it. Personally, I wouldn't go for that. I wouldn't be mad seeing Parasite take it, or even Once Upon a Time, just because it has a Hollywood thing going on, and Hollywood likes to it likes movies about itself.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, I really like Matt Damon and Christian Bale. I'm not a real big racing guy, so that didn't, appeal to me at any kind of visceral level. But it's a well-made film and so on. I was pretty disappointed in The Irishman. I kind of wanted that to be Scorsese's swan song. He's got De Niro, Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Pesci, all these iconic actors coming together for one last mob hurrah, but it just didn't do much for me. It was way too long and just didn't really tell a story that I found anywhere near as compelling as like Goodfellas or something like that. We talked about Jojo Rabbit,
Oh, I was just going to say, for me, on the Irishman front, I thought that was gearing up to be a great gangster movie. And then Jimmy Hoffa showed up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a Jimmy Hoffa movie? I had no idea this was going to be a Jimmy Hoffa movie. Why is Jimmy Hoffa showing up? And not only is it Jimmy Hoffa, it's Al Pacino Jimmy Hoffa. So it's a really good Jimmy Hoffa, but it's still like, what's going to happen. There's no scenario where he gets away and he's like, ha, I got you. He ends up in the ditch, everybody knows. So I just, it lost me when Hoffa popped up. So.
Yeah, I've not seen Irishman. That runtime, that 3.5 hour runtime, I haven't got a chance.
I was gonna say you gotta allot some time for it because it's a long one, and it was unnecessarily long. Like it didn't. I'm okay with a long epic movie, but it just didn't serve any purpose in my opinion.
I gotta watch
Joker to me was really a great central performance, but the movie itself didn't land for me as a best picture. I'll be honest, I haven't seen Little Women. Marriage Story, until I saw another film, was going to be my choice. It was just so honest and human. And I typically don't even really like a whole lot of Noah Baumbach films, but this one was very much characters that, even though they're theater people and actors, these roles that you can't necessarily relate to, I found the characters to be very relatable. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino, always immaculately produced, always, you can see just his absolute love of film in every single shot. So that was apparent. To me, my choice would be 1917. I am a pretty big history geek, so I'll take any World War I film I can get. But it was just such a moving, I loved how it didn't get into the big questions. I know some critics actually were opposed to the fact that it didn't talk about the wider context of the war, didn't get into the grand strategy. And I was like, that's not the point. The point is just these two kids trying to survive a day in hell,
Yeah.
So that was brilliant. But Parasite, like we said, it's probably, I think Parasite is going to win. It's extremely original, and Bong Joon-ho, he's got some stones. Let's put it that way.
Right on. Yeah, that pretty well covers it. We probably got all those wrong. None of those are right predictions. We don't have any idea what's going to happen, really. The real goal, hopefully, of this podcast as we continue to grow is to, get to the level where they're sending us the screeners, so that way we can have actual opinions on every single movie and every single category. So hopefully we can kind of grow into that. Any parting shots, as they say? Anything? You guys want to leave on a high note?
The Lighthouse was jobbed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The Lighthouse was jobbed.
Nominations for the Lighthouse.
Every year there's always at least one, but this year I'm the world's biggest Lighthouse evangelist, so I just had to get that in there.
That's glad we got it in there. And
the other thing, I think the nominations, I feel like it's just the same movies getting nominated all the time.
Yeah.
Not a lot of versatility in the movies.
Yeah, they had their favorites for sure. I mean, that's kind of how it usually runs. Is if you're going to be in the best picture, you're going to get some categories covered up there. I doubt we see any kind of. I mean, who knows? With this Parasite phenomenon, Parasite might just win all the awards, and then it's like, haha, new record or something like that. That could happen.
I think the Best Picture field this year has a pretty decent, like Ford versus Ferrari. That's a fairly typical nominee. Irishman, yeah. Little Women, costume drama, 1917 war film, yeah. But things like Joker and Jojo Rabbit, those aren't really your typical Best Picture nominees. Parasite is, for one, a completely foreign language, just very, very out there type film. So, there's a little bit of diversity there. I personally feel like if they're going to allow up to 10 nominees, they should always
you got to get
have 10 nominees.
Yeah, you got to get 10. You can find 10 movies. You can find 10 movies. It's kind of pretentious, honestly. It really is.
Yeah, so something like an Uncut Gems or Lighthouse. I mean, I would love to have seen one of those sneak in there.
I'm with you 100% on that. If you got 10, you should get 10. That's I'm with you there for sure. Well, I think that about wraps it for us, boys. I'm going to call it and say we'll probably see you next month. I feel like we'll do this once a month, get together, all try to see some movies and talk about them. And thanks for joining us. Good night.
All right. Bye.